LifePoint students, welcome to another week of our Faith as Adventure devotional series. And just before we jump in, just want to remind you that Sunday nights at 6:30, here at the local park, Skyline Commons, behind the church, we meet as a youth group, we have fun, we play games, we have snacks, we have great discussion. I love to see you there. If you can't make it this week, I get it, it's summer, but still we'd love to see you soon. Now, for this devotional, we're calling it Obedience Requires Risk. Now, I know you and I both know, as Christ followers, sometimes we are called to take on some risk, right? In service, in our relationship with God. We might have to risk something in our group or our society or our job or school, whatever it might be. But this can often be hard, and sometimes we just don't see the benefit in the here and now. That doesn't mean there isn't benefit, just we don't always get to see it. Now, like I said, understandably, this can be hard. Sometimes the risk might feel too much or too big. It may even feel small sometimes. But whatever the case, it can be difficult to navigate through that. Yet, in our faith, if we step out in that faith, if we remain obedient, it helps us to draw closer to God. A good example of this we actually see in Daniel chapter 3, verses, I have to think about 8 through 30. Chapter 3, 8 through 30. Now, this is a pretty recognizable passage. This is where we see Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego go into the fiery furnace. Now, again, I know this is a pretty common story. It's one that we often look towards as a reminder that, God can help us through any situation. But think back for a moment, and what was it that caused these three guys to be placed in such a predicament? Well, of course, the short answer is the Babylonian king, pagan king Nebuchadnezzar places them in there. Now, a little longer answer is a bunch of people were jealous or angry or upset, whatever you want or whatever fits, with that so many Jewish people in the Babylonian culture were becoming so prominent. We see this a lot of times, especially with where we have these survivors, this remnant in different cultures. Eventually, people get upset with them, and God delivers them once again out of that situation. In this case, these people were jealous of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and their prominence in serving Nebuchadnezzar. So they trick Nebuchadnezzar, they convince him or whatever that, hey, some people, especially these three guys, aren't worshiping our idols. They're not worshiping you. He calls them in, he's very angry. He gives them an out. He says, if you worship, all is free and clear. You're fine. Don't do it, and there's going to be a consequence. So, of course, they can take this out, but they don't. They take the opportunity, they risk their own earthly lives to stand up and be faithful and be obedient. And that's what causes them to be tossed into the fiery furnace. Now, in any case, they didn't worship the idol. They didn't give in, even though it would have saved them, at least in an earthly sense. And yet, here they are risking their lives. Being faithful to Christ, being obedient in our faith, means that no other God, no other object, no other thing should distract us or take God's place in our heart and mind and have that relationship. And after all of this, these three guys not only survived the ordeal, as we both know, but after that is also pretty interesting. Nebuchadnezzar welcomes them out of the fiery furnace, and before all of Babylon, he declares whatever works. He publicly declares that the Jewish God is not only powerful, but more powerful than any other god idol that the Babylonians worshipped. And he publicly declared this and also stated that anyone who disagreed or went against this decree was going to face the same punishment that these guys just faced. Now, this is interesting. It would have made a great story. I would have loved to have seen it. Maybe you would have too. Like, Nebuchadnezzar totally converts right then and there. No, sadly, he doesn't. But with this big declaration, with this big reveal, there's a lasting impact in Babylon that now this God, the true God, is elevated. His people are elevated in society where they hadn't before. And that has, like I said, a lasting impact on this culture for at least some time. So I guess to summarize all of this, our faith can often come with risk, but it also leads to great reward. And even though we may not always see it in the here and now, it's worth following through on. And with that, I hope you have a wonderful and blessed day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.